You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
Today, I'm joined as ever by a very cold Joe Cole.
Still in my bones from last night, big man. Them hailstones.
How mad is it? Me and you seem to be in the coldest May I can ever think about, in probably the coldest room at the moment. Look at us.
I know. It's just this time of year, man. And we're doing the game, and the hailstones come down, and you almost want to complain, but then I just think to myself, I'm lucky to be here.
Yeah.
Chelsea in the semi-final Champions League. Any 50,000 Chelsea fans would swap places with me, standing out in hailstones to be there. So I had to swallow it a little bit before I started moaning like a proper diva.
I mean, we're talking about that, and our guest today is a blinder. Former Chelsea, West Ham and Benfica defender, Mr. Scott Minto. Scott, how you doing, mate?
Very good, chaps. I'm roasting. Can I take this off?
I was going to say, you know what? I was really building up how cold it is, and Scott has basically made me and you look an absolute pair of
divas.
Southern softies. I was born up north, actually. I moved down when I was 3.
Really?
So, yeah, I'm born in the Wirral. So my family's big Liverpool fans. I'm not a Liverpool fan now.
Yeah.
Who do you support?
This is nothing.
Chelsea.
My old teams.
Yeah.
I know it seems wrong to say you have more than one team, but I think it's different when you've played for teams.
I said that. Yeah, I said that. You can't. I was in the pub on Sunday, and there's a group of fans, like lads. They might listen to. I don't know, but they was obviously boozed up, and they was like, "Joe Cole, come on!" And then one of them singing a West Ham song. One of them was singing a Chelsea song. And I'm like, "Oh, do you know what I mean? You don't want to, booze." I'm like,
the question's coming, isn't it?
Chelsea or West Ham? Chelsea or West Ham? I said, both, mate. And they look at you like you're mad. I'm like,
yeah.
But Scott is right. You got an affinity with both. And once you look behind the curtains and you've played the game, the only tough thing is when they play each other.
Yeah.
It's tough then, isn't it?
How does that work when they play each other? What do you like for both?
Call a draw. Sit on that fence.
Would you say it's? I mean, you're a big, massive part of probably one of the best seasons I'll ever remember as a West Ham fan. But I always remember you as sort of like, you're a double. You had a little suave about you, didn't you, in your Chelsea days? You know what I mean? Oh, you had curtains, didn't you, back in the day?
No. They weren't meant to be curtains.
No, but I remember you being a stylish girl. I remember certain,
Scotty's stylish.
Scotty had a little vibe about him, even back then. Do you know what I mean?
We used to do Napa back in the day when it was the place to go. Emporium.
Yeah.
And then Sugar Reef at West Ham and Titanic and stuff. So
Scotty was one of the senior players coming through, like one of the good senior players that sort of took me under the wing. And, it's an unbelievable dressing room, wasn't it, Scotty? Your razor and all that. But Scotty was one of the top boys.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later. I'm looking forward to that. I'm genuinely looking forward, because I think your career, again, it's actually, I think you're the first person I can think of who sort of embodies the sort of, almost that earlier bit, because just as it sort of went crazy football, you sort of, I suppose, were coming to the end. But
I got rubbish.
Yeah. I mean, you've got so great stories, a great time. But let's start off talking about both your old club, Chelsea, last night. I mean, amazing. I thought they looked incredible, Chelsea. I've got to say, they looked. It's not a great time when you're vying for fourth with a team who looks that decent. It's just, I don't want to, because obviously we love Frank, but you do look at them and think they look. They look like, if they just had a start like that, they could have challenged.
Do you know what? Chelsea are top at the moment. Chelsea are top. In all of the stats, apart from conversion, Chelsea are top. They're like shots blocked, passes, entries in the front. All of the relative stats, they're top. Like, he's done a great job too. Called the systems, the lads. You know what the biggest thing was? The lads, Scotty. They looked. When you look at a team, they all look together, all fighting for each other. And I looked at that team and I thought, they're all wrong for Man City in the final. The way they play, they decimated Real Madrid last night. It was like they were playing against a vets team. They couldn't move. And the only little sad thing for him was because Eden, coming back to Stamford Bridge, he looked a shadow of himself. He was the lads. He couldn't move. His boys were bullying him. It was not nice to see for Eden, because he's been a great. But Chelsea were sensational, weren't they, Scott?
I mean, first of all, from a Hammer's point of view, I think you want to see Chelsea get to the final because, obviously they're going to be thinking about that. I think West Ham are capable of winning every single game at the end of the season. But you look, and first of all, I want to talk about Frank, because a lot of people are saying, they were rubbish, they were floundering, they were this or that. They were in a bad run. They were in a bad run. Yeah. Now, I believe that Frank could have taken him and Jody, Chelsea, to these type of situations, not this season.
Yeah.
in the future, if he was given time. We know that Roman Abramovich, and we can't give him stick for it because of what he's done for the club, but he doesn't do even medium term, let alone long term.
Yeah.
So I do feel for Frank and Jody, but I don't think anyone can turn around and say Thomas Tuchel hasn't been absolutely superb since he's come in. He's changed the system. He's got everyone on board. He's put in experienced players. Defensively, they look so strong. And what was impressive for me last night more than anything was 1-0, you're dominating the best team in the history of this competition and the biggest club in the world. And yet you're creating chances, but you're not converting them.
Yeah.
The mind can suddenly say they're only 1 goal away from taking this to extra time, and then it's like, oh, is it our day?
Yeah.
They just carried on and on and on. And apart from 2 saves from Mendy, which the second one I think he should make anyway.
Yeah.
But the first one was a very good save.
He's incredible, I think he's
done really, really well. He's given so much confidence to the back 4 or back 3 now. But Thomas Tuchel has played an absolute blinder coming in. And they do look, alongside Manchester City, the best team in Europe right now.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing, actually. I mean, just sort of pick out a couple of players he played. But I was reading a thing about Mendy that he was unemployed a few years ago. He was, his story is incredible. And you watch him as a dominating...
down there on a job centre. You could be in the Champions League final in 2 years' time. Get out in your garden, get your angles right, work on your game.
I'm already doing that.
Mendy's the proof.
I've bought a whole bag of balls. I'm going to get you and Scotty to fire some at me.
Well, what's your CV? Well, listen, I'm good at crosses. One-on-one situation.
I'm pretty dominant at one-on-ones.
And what's your ambition? Because you haven't got a job at the moment. Well, in 2 years, I want to be in the Champions League final.
Imagine, it's like the careers day at school. When they say, what do you want to do? And they go to you, well, I want to be a footballer. Of course you're not going to be a footballer. Be a joiner or something. Like, do you know what I mean?
That was my one.
What?
Like literally, like anything else apart from being a labourer.
Yeah.
Like even the idea that I might have actually had a trade. It was like, don't push yourself too hard. Like Mickey Flanagan.
Mickey, love that from Mickey Flanagan. Our school, we don't produce the people that drive the vans. You're a dreamer, son. We load the vans.
It's an insane thing, though.
I love that.
And Mendy, man. I mean, geez, he's living a dream. Yeah. But the other two that you sort of pick out and look, I think Kai Havertz. I mean, similar sort of play, looks incredible. And I want to say so. I look at Timo Werner, and I've watched Timo for quite a long time, watching European football, obviously playing for Germany. I'll say now, I genuinely think he's having that. Remember Andy Cole's first year at United? Yeah. We talked about it with him. And you know, those players, that you watch the way he makes space, the way he plays the game. I look at him and think, you're incredible. It's just not going quite right for you at the moment. Next season, I genuinely think if I was anyone else now, I'd be going for the checkbook and going, like Liverpool, City, going, they've got the kid. That guy, I think, obviously Haaland, Mbappe, but I think Werner, given that gets that confidence back, he'll be a match for anyone out there.
What I can tell you is, from a defender's point of view, he would be an absolute mare to play against. I mean, you'd be thinking the night before, okay, he doesn't convert at the moment, but still he can make me look silly. Yeah. And, one thing I really respect about him is that he can miss chances. Yeah. I think at West Ham, wasn't it? He missed a really big chance. But then actually, he ran down the channels, cut inside, didn't just lay it off, try to shoot himself. Yeah. And I just thought, do you know what? Try and find your shooting boots. Yeah. Because once you've got them, you're a £100 million player.
Yeah. Yeah. He'd be amazing for us. I mean, the all-English final, though, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because, I don't want to go over the Super League, because if I'm quite honest, I'm bored to death talking about it. But what I love is it shows the dominance of our game. If you think, you go back to Liverpool, who obviously haven't been in the mix this year, but you look at the teams coming through as well. I think United next year are going to be, a force again. They look like they're working that way. But that all-English final, I mean, are you super, super pumped? How do you think it's going to go?
I just think, obviously, I played in the final against Man United, didn't I? The all-English final. I think this has got parallels to it, but I just think this has come at a time for the Chelsea players where I think we went into that game against United, and it's the worst game I've ever played, the most horrible game ever. Champions League final should be the pinnacle of a career. I hated every minute of the build-up, hated the game, and obviously after it, because you're playing against your mates, and you don't. What's the worst part? You don't want to lose to your mates, do you? So it was horrible night. But I think with these Chelsea fans, the Chelsea players like your Mounts, Reece James, the Callums, the English boys that I know, I think because they're so young, there's a fearlessness to them.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll bother them. And I think on the other side as well, Foden, you know, they'll think that there's more to come. And it shows the dominance, don't it? I mean, we could have a Europa League final, all English as well. That's no wonder they want to get this.
That happened last time. That happened, didn't it? That was last time.
A few years ago.
It was Chelsea, Arsenal, and then,
Spurs,
and Liverpool.
Just quickly, I would need to say the Champions League final odds from Coral: Man City are 4-9, Chelsea 7-4, City
That's
heavy favourites. I'm going to.
That's what we missed when it was just me by myself. Just to let you know,
I'm going to love heavy on Chelsea.
I wasn't in at the right time. It was all going off.
But we haven't spoken about the final itself. I think this Saturday is going to be very important. Now, City have got the carrot of, you know, win and they win the title. But if Chelsea dominate City in the way they did, it was only 1-0. But they dominate. There was a moment in about sort of 65th, 70th minute where Chelsea were passing it, popping it around in the FA Cup semi-final. Yeah. And a City player tried to press, realised the ball had gone round him, and his whole body language was like, we can't get anywhere near this team.
Yeah.
Now, if somehow Chelsea can do the same again on Saturday, you've going into a Champions League final, back-to-back games against arguably the best team in Europe, where you've dominated them, and City players know that you've been dominated. That will play a little bit in their mind. I think in terms of the team that Pep picked, and who am I, you know, for me, he's the greatest manager. We'll look back and say he's the greatest manager in the history of football. But what he did there, the team was still really good player for player in the FA Cup semi-final, but it was 8 changes. And you know what it's like when you bring in so many, the rhythm of the team wasn't quite the same. And I just feel for me that he's going to try and keep, you know, have that little run building up to it so everyone knows what they're doing. I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong, because Tuchel's been superb, and obviously I want to see Chelsea do it. There's something inside me that says this is Pep's year with City. But I think if Chelsea can beat City on Saturday, then psychologically, which I think is important, and you can tell me what it's like going into a Champions League final, that's going to be massive, knowing that I'm standing across, I'm just about to play you, we've outplayed you twice recently, and now it's in the biggest game, and they're going to know that.
Yeah, sure. I think it's going to be interesting this week, because I almost think it's going to be like, this game's more important for Chelsea than it is for Man City. Pep, I don't think Pep will do something in the final tactically, and I don't think he's going to show his hand. I think it'll be pretty much of a much. If he wins the game, Pep, he's happy. If he don't win the game, I'm not necessarily think that the psychological thing is that big. I just think Pep will not show his hand on what he's going to do. He'll do something in the final, because let me tell you, without getting too in-depth on the tactical things, what Pep usually does when he plays against a back three is he plays a false 9, and he gets the wide men, whether it's Mahrez, Sterling, Foden, whoever it does, to run off the shoulder of him. And by doing that, what he does is then the wing-backs or the opposition have to come back. Yeah. So straight away you pin 5 players back, 3 centre-halves don't know who to mark because there's nobody to mark. There's a false 9, right? And he plays central all the time. So it can't be one of the... It's hard for a Rudiger or a Christensen to go in and get him. So that's what I think Pep will do. But I think Chelsea are just all wrong for them in the sense that Chelsea go, all right, we'll go to a back 5. We're happy because we've got Kante, Mount, Pulisic, Werner in 3 of the 4 box positions. And I don't think there's any better players. Like last night, when you win the ball and you break the lines and you come through, I just think Chelsea are all wrong for Man City. And I think they'll forget what happens. It doesn't matter what happens this Saturday. I think in the final, Chelsea are all wrong for them. I think Chelsea are going to do it.
You're saying about the wing backs there, and how do you see it? I mean, obviously that's a big part of it. And you were a wing back, right? That was one of the Scotty, one of the.
It took years of my career.
The OGs of the wing back game. How would you look at that?
Yeah, Scotty played wing back with Chelsea, didn't you? Under Glenn for
He was one of the first,
and Rude as well.
He would,
and Harry obviously.
One of the first. Yeah.
So 10. Yeah, bloody hell, wing back for 10 years.
No wonder he's still so lean.
And he looks so fresh, doesn't he?
No. Yeah, no, Jesus.
I've been 3 hours in makeup.
It's the horriblest position. I think the fullback position. Everyone says to me it's easy, right? I remember playing a game. I think it was playing Charlton. We were chasing the game. I'm sure it was down to 10 men. And for some reason, I found myself. We had 4 players on the pitch. 4 strikers on the pitch, and I played fullback for about 20 minutes. Worst 20 minutes of my career. They put Marcus Bent on me, and they just kept everything. I was so out. It's such a hard position to play. Mate, I could not do it.
I hated it, especially at West Ham, because you had Trev Sinclair on the other side. He was one of my best mates at West Ham. I mean, he could run up and down for 90 minutes, and then he could do another 90 minutes as well. I'd bring out my arse for after 10 minutes, having to play 2 touch in there and try to take on the other fullback and defend against the wing back. I'm like, come and help me out a little bit. No, it's a tough one. But look, what you've got now is supreme athletes, so they can do it. I think Azpilicueta has been absolutely superb since Thomas Tuchel's come in. That's going to be an interesting one, because I still think Reece James, in terms of the right wing back, I'd rather him in that position. But it's like Azpilicueta has to play at the moment. He's so good. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does there. Ben Chilwell, Marcos Alonso's been brought back into the fold because of the wing back. He's no left back, but a wing back, very good. But I'd go personally. I'd put Azpilicueta as one of the centre halves. I'd put Reece James as a right wing back and Chilwell as a left wing back. And it is interesting. I mean, obviously, I think that sort of at the top level, sports psychology is really, really important. But you're right. Pep might just hold something back in terms of Saturday and the final itself, and it might be actually in the final that he does something that's completely out there. So after 5 or 10 minutes, Thomas Tuchel all week has to build up for a plan B. And he might be turning around and saying, look, I don't even know what plan B is going to be right now, but we might have to respond to what Pep's doing after 10 minutes.
What I love about Tuchel is that there's an element for me that where you have, Klopp and Pep have sort of felt like they've dominated. For me, Tuchel feels a bit like, I don't think he's going to be, I might be wrong. I don't think he's going to have a plan B, but that won't be, I don't think he's going to go into the game worried about necessarily this is what Pep's going to do. I think for me, when I watch him as a coach, and literally from the moment he's come in, he's felt like he's gone, this is what I'm playing, this is what I'm doing. He used to like that semi-final. I watched that semi-final, I was like, wow, Chelsea aren't just like, he's not just done right, I'm going to get to the end of the season, I'm going to see how I go. He feels like he's come in, he's got a vision, this is how we're going to be. And that's why I'd say that I think Pep, Klopp, I think everyone's terrified. Everyone should be terrified, I think, with Chelsea. And don't get me wrong, I'm no massive Chelsea fan, but they're a joy to watch. I think, and let's carry on with Chelsea because, as you say, supreme athletes, incredible. But let's go back to 1994. You're at Chelsea.
Well, we have to change back to not supreme athletes.
No.
We're back to the Café de Paris days now.
No, but it's a different time, right? What's great about that time when we talked a lot about once Roman came in. Yeah. But you were sort of part of that team where Roman wasn't there. But Hullet coming in, for me, as just like, I was a real statter, I was a real football nerd as a kid, right? I watched a lot of European football. I used to go away with me and my dad. That was our cement of mine and my dad's relationship was football. So we'd go abroad. We were like, back then in the 90s, we'd go away and watch people, constantly watching, Football Italia and everything. So when Hullet came, it was absolutely heartbreaking as a West Ham. But to see him in the league, I remember, just sort of seeing him come in and sort of play sweep midfield. What was that like for you when he comes in?
It was like the same, to be honest with you, and we're teammates. I mean, let's say Glenn started it, Glenn Hoddle started it. And then he brought in Rude, he brought in Dan Petrescu, who, wow, what a player. I mean, again, he wasn't a right back, he was a right wing back, but technically superb. Anything that Gianfranco Zola, I say, is the best player I ever played with. Di Canio's probably number 3. Yeah. Rude's number 2. Yeah. When Rude came over, his knees were shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just wants to, finish his career, enjoy London, da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. Fuck me. If his knees were shot at that and he was that good, how good was he in his prime? He wanted to be sweeper. Glenn pulled rank. He said, no, I'm sweeper, so put you in midfield. He ran games from midfield. Yeah. And he was like, honestly, he was...
Glenn Hoddle and Rude Hullet playing together.
Yeah. It's worth saying as well, and you sort of alluded to it there, but it's worth saying, obviously Hullet, I always found it's the most heartbreaking thing as an England fan is when Hoddle sort of because I thought that team in '98, I think that was where you were looking at it and think, any other country, and obviously things went down and whatever, but you looked at the way Hoddle set up a team, he still, for me, feels like, I think he was so many years in front of himself, but he still felt like even what he was playing back there, and when he was at Chelsea coach, like what he was doing feels like you go, he could have been the England manager for 15 years.
He should have been.
And it's taken to now to get Gareth Southgate to feel like we've got anyone close to what Glenn was doing. So how was that how he implemented his ideas? And when you saw Petrescu, because I remember there was a goal or I remember I saw a match today where Hullet, I think, was playing sweeper, and he launches this incredible ball, but it lands it like a goal-flight shot just onto Petrescu's right foot. It's an incredible, just beautiful, like the way you guys like play football. But how was that implemented? Was that Hoddle from the start? That was like, this is our vision.
Yeah, I've said for the last 5 or 6 years, and you're right, until Gareth's been in charge.
Yeah.
Whenever there's been talk of a next England manager, get Glenn back. Glenn back, because his mind, I mean, I don't put him in the top 3 of best players I ever played with, but I put him as the most talented player I ever played with, because whatever he did with his right foot, he could do with his left.
Yeah.
Very quick story. Peter Shreves was the number 2. Glenn was playing manager. Every morning it was a warm-up. Right, 3 touches. Right, Wisey, give us 3. So foot, thigh, head. Foot, thigh, head. Right, everybody. Right, okay, Gav, give me something. Right, outside of the foot, shoulder, catch it in the back of the net. Outside of the boot. Yeah. Glenn was there were balls flying absolutely everywhere. Glenn was the only one, left foot, right foot, whatever, keeping it up. They never touched the ground. Technically superb. But his mind as well, in terms of tactics, he was the best manager I ever played under. Yeah. Whether it be a 4-2, a 3-5-2, you knew exactly what he was talking about. Yeah. And he was a little bit aloof at that time, and I met him a few years later, and he was absolutely fantastic. Yeah. But, my God, it must have been frustrating for him realising he could do absolutely everything, and we couldn't do what he could do.
I worked with him, and I love Glenn. I worked with him, Peter. I pick his brains all the time about it. And he was 20 years ahead of his time as a player and as a manager. Yeah. So he must have been frustrated. And I think if you sit him down and he would probably, I think he would say, yeah, you're probably right, because people weren't seeing football the way it was, right? So go back to we had Sven. I had Sven as my England manager for 7 years. Love him. Give me all my caps. Brilliant. But he was doing things, Sven. And I had a sixth sense as a kid. Scotty knows me as a kid. I was a free spirit. But when I went to Lilleshall, we played a certain way, 4-4-2, the English way. No square balls, in behind, no risks. We play off the ball. And it was everyone did that in the English game. And even as a kid, when I went to Lilleshall, and Keith Blunt was a great coach at that, but I had a 6, I'm like, this ain't right. And all my career, from 16s to 21s, going away with England, we're getting popped off the pitch because they got angles, they got centre-halves. What you see now, coming into the midfield, and they're not good as our players, but we never set ourselves up to give ourselves the best chance to win a tournament. And Sven, Nordic coach, he was trained by our English Charles Hughes type coaches in that way. So when I went to play for England, we're playing the exact same way I played at 16, which I knew was wrong. Do you know what I mean? It was a broken system. We could never win nothing. You would never win a tournament playing like that, in that way, right? So, and then I went to West Ham. Harry was like, play. And I thought, well, that's better than what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? But then the level on from that was Pep Guardiola, Glenn Hoddle. Let's play, but look, angles. When Scotty receives the ball, your job, you have to be here to give him an angle. And when he has it, then you have to do that. Do you know what I mean? A plan in possession. Yeah. So going back to Glenn was so ahead of his time in terms of the way he was thinking about football. But now football's caught up because of the likes of Pep and people like that. And we was in the doldrums for so long. Yeah. But now we're not. We're coming out of that. We're producing Foden, we're producing Grealish, producing
Stones, I think, as well, at the back. I think when you watch Stones at the back,
we got a chance now.
Yeah. I mean, do you know when you're talking about, and it's what you just said, one of my everlasting memories of Glenn Hoddle was when he was player manager. It was the FA Cup final when you lost to United. And
I wasn't there then.
Yeah,
but
I was there.
There's an incredible shot that they did on the actual footage, and I think they conceded like the 3rd goal, and the camera just lands on Glenn. Yeah, and he just undoes his top. Yeah, and even like there, as a West Ham fan, I'm going, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it, if he came on and like so cool, and turned the game around. And then but then obviously, what's great and sort of knowing that Chelsea, because this is a Chelsea before the Chelsea we know now almost. And even then you've got Zola, LaBeouf, Vialli coming in. I mean, Vialli was actually almost more heartbreaking. Vialli was Ravanelli was my all-time favourite player. I loved Vialli. But those guys coming in and the changing rooms, the training ground, the stadium, these things weren't the Chelsea we know now. What was their response from going to sort of like, Juventus? to this?
I don't think there was any way they'd have gone to Harlington before they signed. It would have taken to a swanky restaurant in Chelsea.
Yep.
Look, let's not even bother with even Stamford
King's
Bridge
Road,
right now.
Espresso. Imagine that. Luca Vialli be there like they're
Nice Italian area.
like
you know.
Scalini's or something.
Exactly.
There, like little nice bit of pasta.
How much of a shithole was Harlington?
Oh, it's
Were you there?
I mean, that was the training ground.
It was dreadful, mate. I remember one of my first days. I don't know if I told you the Varane story.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Where the cab driver, do you remember Hamzy? Was he when you were there? It was a masser, I think it was Hamzy. And he picked Varane up and his agents from Heathrow when he signed. So he's got him in a black cab and he's took him to Harlington. And then Varane's gone in, like, he wanted to get a bit of a massage before he was training. He had a problem. He said, can I have a massage? So the physio, Banksy, has gone, yeah, like, we'll get a massage. And Varane said, he said, the f***ing cab driver's now my masseur. He said, what clubs this have come from Manchester United, right? And he said, and then you had to leave at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, sharp, because the local hockey team was coming in.
Yeah.
It was like...
So Harlington was the training ground, and there weren't like sort of one big dressing room or even two big dressing rooms.
Yeah.
It was a college dressing room type thing. So, and Chelsea were renting from the local authority or whatever. So on the Wednesday, we always had a day off. Not necessarily because they wanted it, but because we weren't allowed in there.
Yeah.
Or if we weren't allowed in those particular dressing rooms.
Yeah.
So there was like little group, and it was, there was a payphone there as well, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Certainly when I went in '94, mobile phones were just coming out. I got my first mobile when I went to Chelsea, actually. Yeah. But it was like, it ring in, and I was told, like, there's agents ringing up Glenn Hoddle, and he's
like
waiting. Honestly, it was
like
unbelievable.
A prison queue for the prison.
But I mean,
phone.
even like Vialli. I mean, you talk about him, and I mean, what a classy guy, what a fantastic guy. And yet, one of the things I remember most about him, he used to be training and that, and we'd come off, and I'd be one of the last ones coming off and be chatting in the bath or whatever. He'd be standing there, and more often than not, almost every day, naked, but with his boots and socks on, like having a shave in front of the mirror, and he's talking about having a laugh, and and there's possibly women sort of that could walk past and that, and he's having a shave, just naked, but his boots and socks still on, and he was brilliant. And when he first came, it was very broken English. He'd have these like little, literally kiddies English books.
Yeah.
The cat jumped over the dog.
Yeah.
And it'd be like that, and we'd be like sort of. But then within literally a couple of months, he's fluent English. Yeah. And absolutely brilliant. The mindset of the guy, both on and off the pitch, was incredible. And what a guy.
Do you remember Harley? Do you remember the double doors? This is what, like, I think football, I hope this stuff goes on. My first day, JT and Bill Blood, Massa, a good friend of mine, people will probably YouTube him, he's a lunatic. And we've gone in there, and for some reason, we decided to there was a shopping trolley we used to collect the abandoned shopping trolley to collect the dirty washing. And we was getting blood in this shopping trolley, towels wrapped round his head, and just smashing him through these double doors. It was just carnage. I thought, this is brilliant. I thought, I've come from West Ham, Chad Belief, we ain't the best, but I thought, I love this. I miss them, because you couldn't do that at Cobham now, because the doors are probably worth about 20 grand. You know what I mean?
that don't go on nowadays, does it? It's a shame.
Do you think that is a shame though?
Yeah.
And it's like that, the thing of, because what, you talk about those times. I think it's sort of like that's what Chelsea, I suppose, were known for at the time. And it wasn't really like the checkbooks out. I think the allure of Chelsea, let's be real, the King's Road feel to it, and once you got Zola, once you got Vialli, once you got Hullet, it's that's why like LeBoeuf and people are coming but it feels like they probably settled more into the way that we are. Like now, I think, as you say, and I think rightly so, Foden and whatever, Foden's been brought up to play in a very European way. I think like Matt, we talked about the Chelsea Academy, and you think, well, it's run as people from all around the world there. But back then, I guess it's sort of that English sort of like messing about, dicking about, sort of took precedence in this.
Definitely. But one thing I would say about the mall that came in, and you can include Ruud and Franco and Luca especially. They got involved in it. They got involved in the banter as well. Yeah. And it was brilliant. You're sort of thinking, I'm sitting alongside Ruud Hullet here. Yeah. But what's he going to be like? Is he going to be arrogant, or is he? Yeah. And he was actually, he was funny. A proper teammate. Yeah. Obviously, again, didn't really know about Luca, but I heard. But certainly with Ruud, he had to distance himself once he became the player manager.
Yeah.
But even then, he loved, we didn't know at the time, but he loved Windsor Davis.
Oh, really?
And it ain't half hot, mum, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he used to come in every single day without fail when he was manager and say, "Hello, lovely boys, let's have some fun." And that's what we did. It was every day. And I didn't equate it to Windsor Davis only a few years later, but okay, yeah. I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. But the fact that he came in, he made us all relaxed. I mean, he coined the phrase "sexy football," and we just went out there and listen. We weren't consistent like obviously Chelsea nowadays, but we could play some good football.
Do you remember
good players.
Someone told me the story about Frank Sinclair because Rude liked a night out, didn't he? So he sort of partnered up with Frank, who liked a night out. Do you know, you go to a new... I did the same. I did the same when I went to Lille. Like I was like, I was there by myself. I was like, all right, who go? A couple of nights out. Who go? You partner up with whoever the party boy is. So
I did it as well. Me and Frank used to Cafe de Paris.
So like he said, Frank, he constantly like, Frank, where are we going tonight? Where are we doing and all that? To go out with Frank Sinclair. Then when he become manager, apparently he's got. Have I done a meeting or something? Frank, you're a bad example, and the lads are like, is that true?
Go out too much.
You go out too much.
I don't know. I mean, Frank came out of another story. We did a celebration. It was 20 years after the '97 FA Cup final win, which was Chelsea's first major trophy for 26 years. So it was a big one back then. And 20 years on, they sort of said, look, come to the end of the season, do. And there was me, Frank Leboeuf, Frank Sinclair and Stevie Clarke who went up there. We just said a few things. And Frank said that, I think he got it wrong. He said that before the FA Cup final, Rude brought out loads of champagne, glasses of champagne and said, look, let's go out and, Now, actually, that may have happened, but knowing Frank as it was, as soon as he saw it, he probably drank everybody else's champagne because he was a party boy. In fact, even the morning of the cup final, obviously, again, it's the possible first chance of winning a trophy for 26 years for the club. We're all having pasta and drinking water and chicken, and he's having a full English breakfast.
Love it. Love
and
Frank.
It's like, that's absolutely brilliant. I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
But they're the stories as a fan you want to hear. Like, because Frank was a big Chelsea fan.
Come through the system.
You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
I've been with my wife now 45 years. We're childhood sweethearts. We've been together since we were 16 and 15.
Oh, come on, Joe. You're starting to make me cry now. What's up with you? Jeez,
Well, that's the intention, Alan, to make you all cry.
Check out the full video now to find out why Joe is Alan's next winner.
So 1997, you win that trophy, and then it's almost everything flips around, like 360, because you then leave, Chelsea, you go to, and then now you're the guy playing in Benfica, right? You're essentially the foreigner now. So, but you're playing under Graham Souness, and he's brought Dean Saunders, Michael Thomas, Mark Prembridge, Steve Hartness, Gary Charles, Brian Dick. So he's like a big English contingent.
Well,
it
wasn't initially. No. Suey wasn't there initially. So I was the first Englishman to play for Benfica. I was signed by a guy called...
Why was that? How did that come about? So what was your mindset in going to Benfica? Was it the best offer on the table, or was it just something you wanted to do?
I was still hoping to sort of come to an agreement with Chelsea, but Chelsea had offered me a contract. I saw them, it wasn't just about money, I saw them going down a sort of foreign route. Yeah, I was frustrated that if things weren't going right in a game, even if I was playing well, I'd get taken off and they'd go to a back four to get Luca on because you had 3 into 2 didn't go. Yeah, Franco, who was the best player by a million miles. Yeah, you had Mark Hughes. And you had Luca. Yeah. And Luca's obviously not happy. He's come to Chelsea and he's on the bench. So if anything's not going right, let's take someone off. We put Luca on. And I seem to be, not all the time, but too many times for my liking, be taken off. Clarkey would go left back four. So I just sort of thought, you know what? I'm not going to sign this contract they're offering. I'm a great believer in do your best and what will be, will be.
Yeah. Right.
So we played the cup final. I didn't know that Benfica were there. Apparently, we did the celebration the day after. And then the day after that, we went on tour to Hong Kong, Brunei and Singapore. Out there, my agent called me, said Benfica. They said Deportivo La Coruña and Bordeaux are interested, but Benfica have come out with the best offer. Yeah. I'm like, fuck me, I've got to do this. Yeah. You know, this is a once in a chance opportunity in my lifetime. So I always liked languages at school. Yeah. But I just thought, you know what, I've got to go for it. So I said, okay, fine. So ended up signing. I'm thinking, right, I'm trying to learn the language as well, but I hadn't actually spoken to anybody Portuguese. So just an example of like good morning is bom dia written, but it's actually pronounced bon dia.
Yeah.
So first day I see, you know, the publicity guy, and I go, oh, bom dia, bom dia. He's laughing in my face, bom dia, bom dia. Yeah. I'm thinking, fuck me, the first attempt I've tried at Portuguese, and he's laughing in my face. So I'm walking in the dressing room thinking, I don't know anyone here. I don't know the language. I don't know anything. But I'd just come off the back of my best season, obviously, with Chelsea. Won the cup final. And the first day, so we you know, first day pre-season, we're running. And I'm thinking, how can I sort of integrate myself? And so I said to someone who speaks English, how do you say I'm fucked? I said, estou fedido. So I'm going, estou fedido. And everyone's like cracking up and that. Yeah. And it's like, you know, first words you learn are the swear words. I don't know if it's the same for you in France. Definitely. And the last words you forget as well. Yeah. So we went on tour to Holland and Brazil. It literally could not have gone better. It was like a dream. And then we started the season. My brother got married in September, the international weekend. And I said to Benfica, look, is it okay if I come back and train with Chelsea for a week and so I could just be at home? Over there, Gwyn Williams, when I came back, told me that Valencia were interested and they were going to make a bid for £1 million because I'd gone for nothing on the Bosman. Yeah. And then I got injured the next game, was out for 4 months. But to be honest with you, I was almost a bit like, well, I don't want them to come in because I didn't know how this was going to go. Yeah. It couldn't have gone better. A club like Benfica, you know, 5,000 fans in the first day of training. Yeah. Just first day of training.
It's an incredible club.
80,000 in the only sort of presentation game, pre-season game with the red carpet where they're calling your name individually. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I going on here? And it was just absolutely amazing, the lifestyle. The manager got sacked halfway through the season. Suey came in and then he brought in, you know, a lot of the British lads. So
how was that? Was it like a Beano then?
Do you think? Like, do you think? Do you think? Because you've already gone out there. Did you think? I suppose the question is, why do you think they went with Suey and allowed them just to bring the British lads in? Is it because you've done so well that they thought?
No, I wouldn't put. I'd love to think that was the case, mate. But I think just Suey was a big name, and you know, they had the sort of presidential elections, and the president had gone with him. Why he went with Suey, I'm not sure, but Suey obviously represents being a winner. Yeah. And he came in, to be fair to him. So I'm still the only Englishman playing in the team at the time, and I mean, he hit the ground running. Really? So we're chasing Porto. We were like fourth in the table, but then we're sort of winning games. Porto seemed to be getting last-minute penalties. I won't go on and more about that. But we were chasing. And he was just absolutely brilliant. You know, I was a Liverpool fan as a kid. Yeah. And I said to him, look, King Kenny was my hero, but, you know, obviously love watching you play as well. And immediately struck up a really good relationship to the point where my only sending off was under Suey in my whole career. Yeah. So we need to win. We're away from home, 0-0. And I'm going past this guy a few times and keeps fouling me, but there's no yellow card. And it keeps fouling and there's no yellow card. So at 89th minute, we need to win. We're not going to win. I just get up and boot him up the arse. I don't even look. There's a red card. And I'm thinking, fuck's sake, you know. 2 minutes later, Karol Poborski, who was at Benfica as well, ex-Man U, came in the dressing room. He'd been sent off. So then you hear the sort of traipsing of the boots coming in. I'm thinking, shit, he's going to absolutely go apeshit. Yeah. So he's come at me, Suey, and said, fucking hell, Scott, you know, what are you thinking of? You know, we need you to... I went, Gaffer, I'm really... Because I thought to myself, this could go one of two ways. Yeah. How do I diffuse it? And I thought, hold on a minute, this is Graham Souness. Yeah. Some of the tackles he's putting in his career, if I play this right, he can't ever go at me. Yeah. So I've gone, Gaffer, I'm really, really sorry. I lost it. We needed to win. It kept on getting fouled and the ref was bent clearly and obviously he wasn't. But, you know, I apologise to you. I apologise to the lads. So I'm really, really sorry. He's gone, okay. So he's gone at Karol. He's gone, Karol, what the fuck were you doing? Carol's gone back at him. Literally within 5 seconds, Suey's got Karol up like that. We're peeling Graham Souness off Karol Poborski. So, Karol, just know who you're talking to. That whatever he did in his career was worse than what you could do in your career. Yeah. And also, don't get him angry. But I loved playing under Suey, and whenever I speak to him, still got a really good relationship with him. Good.
Is it, you know, you as a player, and actually, you know, we're talking a bit about sort of people who are almost before their time, and I think you probably agree, Scott. I say this because I love blowing smoke up your ass because you're an absolute G. But yeah, I think that's the same with you. I think when you went abroad and when you were playing at Lille, I mean, number one, it's like it was you, Hazard, and Payet, right, in the same team.
Yeah.
I mean,
I went full Derek Trotter with my French, by the way. It was ridiculous. It was like
Bonnet de douche, wasn't he?
Oh, it was après-moi la deluge, bonnet de douche. I used to love it. I used to absolutely love it, right? And similar story. I don't know, this is okay. So I've gone in and I was dreadful at French in school. And I'm not like school. I hated language. I just remembered how to say I love dogs and I love cats. What I thought was I love cats. So I've got in, the fellow was called Jeff, Belgian fellow, he's Massa, he spoke the best English, and I've walked into the dressing room and I've just gone, right, I'm just going to front this, right? And Jeff's gone, hello, welcome to Joe, what do you know in French? And I thought, I don't know nothing. I said, I love dogs and I love cats, but really, I've said, I love pussy, right? J'aime le chat, right? So I'm walking around the dressing room with Hazard and Payet and all that, and I'm going, morning, lads. I love pussy. I love pussy. And they are pissing themselves. Jeff's gone on the floor, right? And then so he called me from that day, Monsieur Le Chat, Mr. right? For the whole thing, right? And yeah, so anyway, that broke the ice with the boys. And I had my little French thing every day. And I read L'Equipe, you know, because I got some great advice from... I think it was David Platt said it to me years ago because he went to Italy. And I said, what was he like? He said, immerse yourself in the culture. Don't try and be insular. So that's what I did. Like, I went in there. I tried to learn the language as quickly as I could. Just had a go. I watched French TV as best I could. Listen to the radio, French radio. I tried to get everything. Got me on the coffees. I was proper on the espressos and the croissants.
Me too. Espressos.
Yeah.
And port now as well.
But then in my head, as I'm doing it, I'm just thinking, Derek Trotter. This is pathetic. You know, when he's like, bonjour. And I used to fuck about with him as well. Like, every time I go, right, lads, see you later. I'll see you tomorrow. Bonjour. But
you know
made me giggle and they just think you're an idiot.
No. Do you know what I found? I mean, it was really difficult to try and learn Portuguese because so many people spoke English and you spend 2 minutes trying to do a sentence in Portuguese. They'd answer you back in 10 seconds in English.
Yeah.
But they really appreciated you making the effort.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing. And that's where I think, because I was accused, and I won't mention which player said that to me, you think you're Portuguese. It wasn't that I thought I was Portuguese. I was trying to immerse myself in everything and trying to speak Portuguese and try to, get on with everyone and live that culture.
Yeah, you have to.
So, even, the times where I'm lying in bed thinking, what the fuck did you say there? And, but then the next day you go on, you kick on, and it's the only way to learn. I tried not to read the newspapers too much. Out there in Portugal, I don't know if they still got it, but they had 3 daily sports papers.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they'd literally rate your training and give you marks of your training.
Unbelievable.
What you did, 5-a-side, possession or whatever. And I remember the first 3 games, full proper games. I thought, I was like, fuck me, I'm not playing better than this. This couldn't go any better. I got 5 each time. And it wasn't until later on in the season that I worked out, because Nuno Gomes scored 4 goals in a 4-0 win and got 7. I mean, how can he only get a 7? It was marks out of 7.
Was it?
Yeah, for some reason. I don't know why. No idea why. So in the end, my 5 out of 7 suddenly looks good, better than the 5 out of 10.
It's a nice 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
What was, going back, what was Hazard like when you were there?
Yeah, different class. I love him. And again, like going back to what I said earlier, Tom, it was so... I looked at his stats before the game and doing a broadcast, and he's played like from 17 to 30, he's played nearly 700 games, mainstay for club and country. He looked like an old player last night. I saw him as a fresh-faced player, and he was, do you know what? He was one of the most humble young... I've not seen this combination of talent, knows he's so good, but with such humility and maturity as a young man, and people probably wouldn't associate that with him because he had children early and all that, and he was good fun. We had a night out once. They took me to the local nightclub, and I tried to immerse myself, but they were drinking this green stuff. I weren't having it. So we're on the borders of Belgium. So I've gone. I've gone to the nightclub. Let's have a few beers. Like he went. They didn't have beers in this nightclub. Weird. He went, we'll get some for you from the... What do you have? I said, I don't mind. Got me Belgian beer. So it's like 10%. So I've gone for, I'll have 5 or 6. I won't go mad. Do you know what I mean? 5 or 6 of these 10% beers, I'm being carried out by by our Brazilian centre forward. And there's Eden just there, he was brilliant, having a great time. And I just thought, I just loved the whole experience. And he was different class. And I'm just sad to see him not at his peak.
Do you know what, just on that, I think it might have been Eddie Newton I spoke to about it, but someone at Chelsea at the time. And it was like, he doesn't know how good he can be.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, he's a great lad. He's one of the lads. He's not aloof. He's not arrogant. He loved his time in London. His family loved it in London. Obviously, Real Madrid's Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And I think with the injuries, but it's almost like you can almost be Messi and Ronaldo, but you have to live it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure he quite...
He doesn't want to.
Wants to live it to the point where, you know, like Ronaldo has made, I mean, unbelievable potential and skill, but he's made everything out of him the way he's doing. He doesn't want to live like that to get to that. He just wants to be him.
But I mean...
He's a 1970s footballer.
Yeah.
Playing in this era. That's what he is like.
Just needs the long hair.
Frank Worthington,
Yeah,
basically.
but what strikes me weirdly is when I look at the three of them, and I know this is a bizarre thing to say, he always strikes me that he's always happy.
Yeah.
And like, sometimes I watch Ronaldo for everything he's done and for how amazing he is and how he pushes that side of him. But I'm, you know, that weird thing where you look and go, how much have you enjoyed the ride? You know, to quote Joe, has the juice been worth the squeeze? Do you know what I mean?
Lyrics.
No, but whenever I watch Eden, I watched him a lot of times when he played for Chelsea against West Ham, and he'd do stuff. You'd be like, "Fucking wow, what a player!"
Yeah.
But he always looked like he loved it. And I think that's, you know. But talking about joy and happiness, we'll move on to West Ham and what really happened. And that's it. So you leave Benfica, you sign for our friend Harry Redknapp at West Ham, and it's the best season we've had in the Premier League. Finished 5th. What do you remember about that? I mean, obviously there was a young, our own very little Eden Hazard was there.
Without a doubt. So Harry called me in my first pre-season of Benfica, and he's like, you know, come on, you know, Dixie's struggling. Dixie, the greatest ever left back. You know, it's like following Fergie, to be honest with you. So I didn't realise I was going to hide into nothing in a way. But I said, Harry, I've just signed for Benfica. They said this is like July, August of my first season. I'll just tell him you're not happy. You haven't settled. I went, mate, I couldn't have settled more. But I really would love to play under you. I'd love to play for West Ham, and if that's my move back, then fine. But just at this moment in time, you know, I can't. So he called me again a year or so later, or my agent did, and said, look, Harry's coming. Dixie's really struggling with his knees now. And I didn't realise that West Ham that season had started really well, but was suddenly sort of going down the table. And the day I signed, I think, was the day the Hammers lost to Swansea in the Cup, where Swansea, I think, were in like League Two, 4th Division then. So my first game was Sheffield Wednesday at home.
I remember it.
We lost 4-0.
I know.
My second home game... Now, I literally thought in the build-up to the Arsenal game, I had almost the best training week of my life. Yeah. I was like pinging balls in. Yeah. I was thinking, wow, I can't wait for this. Even though Arsenal are unbelievable. We got battered 4-0. Yeah. I put a couple of crosses behind there, and I think one back pass as well that sort of went, and I got absolutely pelted by West Ham. And I'm like thinking, fuck, I come from Benfica where things couldn't have gone any better. I'm now at West Ham and I'm getting battered. And the problem is sometimes first impressions last. And I'm not just saying that about the West Ham fans. I did change around a lot of the West Ham fans, I think, thoughts about me, but there were some that I didn't. Yeah. And, you know, so Harry took me out. I sort of said to Harry, look, I've just come from Benfica. I just want you to know that if you want to take me out, fine. But in terms of the mental side, I'm fine. I want to play, etc., etc. Yeah. He was very clever because when he brought me back was against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, my old team. Yeah. We won 1-0. And from then on, you know, that season couldn't have gone better, really. Yeah. We ended up finishing 5th. Yeah. And it was incredible. I don't know if you remember this now. Go on. The last game of the season, we beat Borough 4-0. So we beat Borough 4-0, great win to finish 5th. We come in, Lomi Stag do is the next day.
I was too young.
You may have been.
I didn't go to the stag.
No. This is why I think you didn't go.
I was England or something, wasn't I?
No. Well, you may have been. You may have been. I don't know. But so we've come in. Lomi's organised. He's the captain. He's organised the stag do. And by the way, it was like a 9 o'clock flight. So Razor's like, we've got to get there 6 o'clock. There's a beer waiting for you at Gatwick Airport, and there was. But Harry has said that the club had organised some game against, I don't know, Ebbsfleet or something on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we spent 45 minutes arguing with Harry when we just finished 5th, beating Borough 4-0, that we didn't want to play in this game because we wanted to go to Lomi Stag Do in Marbella. Yeah. So in the end, we sort of negotiated that the younger lads would play in this game. Rio, Frank, I don't know whether you did.
I think
I'm sure
I played
you probably
in it,
would have done.
I did.
Whereas the senior boy, the older boys, went off and... that's where I actually ended up meeting my missus.
I remember
Yeah,
because there was a lot of jokes going around about Scotty being part of a Colombian drug smuggling ring because he met a Colombian girl in Marbella.
If you need a kilo or two, just give us a shout. No, so I met her literally one day, and that was 21 years ago.
Yeah, I remember it clearly. I think Scotty's right. I think it was the Ebbsfleet game because I was like, just come out. I was 16, 17, and I've just come out of school and I'm playing with like Ian Wright was in our team and all the boys, and I was like, this is just amazing. I thought, now I'll get to go on a stag do. I'd only just been going down the local boozer in Kentish Town, which I used to go to. I had like 5 beers, and now I'm out with Razor Rudder. Now I'm in the now I'm in the Champions League. Talk about high level boozers.
Yes, you're in the Champions League elite with Razor.
We went to a night out once, and he took me out for an afternoon session, and I was out for about 4 hours, and then I just got dropped on my mum and dad's front door by Razor, just at the game, like one of them lasted 3 hours into an all-day session. I thought,
did you have an inkling as an older pro there, just how good these boys were going to be?
No, I even from Benfica. So I signed sort of halfway through the season, January.
Yeah.
You knew about Joey Cole even then.
Yeah.
There's this kid now. And now, one thing I think Joe was amazing at, but there's also another thing I want to say about him as well, was the pressure. I don't know whether you felt it or not, but sometimes when you're a young lad, you just go out and play. But the pressure for example, you and Mickey Carrick.
Yeah.
Same age group in terms of the youth team. He went on unbelievable career. You went on unbelievable career, but he didn't have the hype building up to it that you did.
Yeah.
You're almost like the saviour of English football before you'd even play a first team game.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, talking about it honestly. So 15, I remember there was a News of the World article about me on the front page. I'm at school, and it was saying that it was like I was on $5,000 a week. I wasn't. I was still on pocket money. And I was earning more than the Prime Minister. It was sort of like a derogatory thing, like to football, but to me. But I'm on the front page of the News of the World, and for people, younger people now, like that was it. There was no internet, so like I remember walking into school on a Monday, and my life changed from there, because from then on, not just in the football world were rumours, but everyone was looking at me. Do you know what I mean? So how I am, I sort of thought, right, I'm going to either... It did affect me in the sense that I didn't like it, but I sort of pushed back on it. So if the teachers made a smart comment about it, I bantered them back, and I just fronted it. So looking back on it now, I didn't know at the time, but there was a lot of pressure on me, because I was going onto the pitch with expectations at 17, 18. So usually a 17-year-old playing in the Premier League, the fans would be like, that's brilliant. He's a young lad. And as long as you hold your own, everyone's happy. My thing was, if I wasn't dominating the game at 17 or 18, then people were sort of like, oh, is he that good? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so you didn't get that time to adjust. So I had all the negativity sometimes, and then I'd come back and then I'd start playing really well, and then you build it up again, then there'd be another knockback. So you get judged by a different thing. But to answer your question, Scott, I don't think at the time I didn't know. It was just my journey. But looking back on it now, should have been more protected.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But that's not a slight on Harry or anyone.
No.
I don't think people understood the media and all that now, and it just sort of it had a life of its own.
I think as well, speaking like as a fan, I think, we'd been, I think and looking at the team now, and I think looking at the side you see, but I think it had been so long there. You'd sort of obviously you'd had your McAvenis and your Cotties, your Dixies, but for us, I think as fans to have what everyone was calling, and it wasn't just like West Ham fans going, "Oh, we've got this kid in the youth ranks." Like you might. I remember when Declan came through. Yeah. I remember saying, "Oh, Declan's amazing." Yeah. But you wouldn't go to United. No, United fans or Chelsea fans were coming up going, Chelsea might, but with you, it did feel like the whole of everyone knew about this kid. I mean, Alex Ferguson was talking about you. I think when you were a youth player, when you were still at school. So I suppose that. But as a fan, I think I speak candidly for most fans. I don't think we ever. I certainly never sort of watched it. I think there was always that thing of the promise that you showed, and I think actually the truth of it was, unlike some players that I want to be harsh enough to name them, but there was these glimpses from the moment you stepped on a pitch. It wasn't. It was. I remember your debut. I remember looking at you there, going, "Oh, he is that good." Yeah. And I think that's the thing. And you always felt that good. And I think that's the thing that. So I don't think we were ever disappointed. I don't think we were ever. I can imagine that was a bit up for the media, but I think, and I suspect that it's the same with Scott. I think there's some fans. There's always going to be fans who are going to get on your back, but I think for you, I think there was always. I still look at it now, and I think that it was some of the happiest stuff, both of you playing, and that team. I think Rio and forever.
West Ham fans connected with that. They connected with that team. That 4 years I was there because of the way we played.
And it's probably taken to now in a sense, but I think if I was to ask my favourite time, that would be it. I think you, Michael Carrick, Rio, Frank, Jermaine was obviously from Charlton, yourself, and then you had these older guys who felt like they were still sort of. They felt like the guys that you, as a kid, watched football, and they still felt like these sort of like yourself, Razor Rudder, these Junior Dicks, these guys who felt like these rugged sort of men. I was a kid myself, so I mean,
it's interesting though that the perception of what the fans felt is not always what that person feels himself. Because you put yourself under pressure all the time. Yeah. And we always knew you'd be the world class talent that you were. But it's interesting whether you felt it or not, and I understand it completely that you didn't. But when you got someone like Di Canio, you let him run the game. He can run the game, and then you just get into it, and that's what you did. One other thing I would just want to say about you as well is, for all your talent and all your skill, what I want to talk about, or always talk about with Joe, is that he was willing to do the other side. Yeah, he was willing to put his foot in. He was willing to tackle and track back. And he was a nightmare to play against in training as well, not just when he was with the ball, but when he was without the ball, because he was like a holding midfielder without the ball, and he was like a number 10 with the ball. Yeah. So, and that's why you were given the captaincy at such a young age.
I appreciate that because, because I had to do that. Because whenever, going back to the pressure, I think people always wanted to talk about what I couldn't do rather than what I could do. Whereas now, you say, for instance, you get someone like James Maddison, who I think is a great player. Do you know what I mean? People now talking about, doesn't he receive the ball well and play off both feet and he can find a pass and all that. But with me, it was like, he's not very good at heading or something like that. Do you know, he can't tackle. So like, in my mind was like, right, I'm going to make myself, and this was going back to the system. So I thought, right, I've got to try and be the best tackler, the best at heading. I just tried to be the best at the whole thing when really, I had a great career. I can't knock it, your journey, but I think if you'd been coached within a system like they do now and gone, right, you're playing that number 10 pocket. Don't worry about that. Yeah. Keep your body fresh, and we're gonna play a system to get the ball to you through the lines. You turn and then drive, and then you can dribble and drop your shoulder and try and do something. Rather than I was just everywhere on the pitch, trying to do everything. And Di Canio, senior player and a great player. I think it benefited Di Canio because I'd play in midfield 4, whether it be left, centre or right, and I'd go and get the ball, take the risk in an area, boom, get out of it, boom, and then all of a sudden I'd play it to Paolo at his feet, and I'm thinking, well, I want to be in that position as well, but I'm here, and I didn't learn the game because there was no one there with a foresight like a Glenn Hoddle who would have put us into a system to get the benefits of the attributes I could do. But it was just a determination to try and show everyone. I remember doing heading sessions with Roger Cross for insane for an hour, trying because I wanted to be better at heading. It
shows you what it takes to get to that.
But that mentality you had made you the player you were.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, talking about mentality and talking about trying to his appetite to win, we're coming down to the crux of it now. Predictions wise, Scott Minto, this is where it's getting big, bro.
Okay.
Last week we actually both had a disaster. None of us picked Villa to beat Everton. We didn't get a draw. West Brom versus Wolves. Obviously, Liverpool United was called off. So this week we've got this. So we're going to go first. I just want an answer: team name or draw. West Ham Everton.
West Ham.
West Ham Everton.
West Ham.
West Ham for me. So it's 3 West Hams. Wow. West Ham are 4-1 to make the top 4 with Coral. Great bet. City versus Chelsea.
I'm going to go City.
Draw.
I want to go Chelsea.
Mixed it right up there.
West Ham, and then Leeds versus Spurs.
I'm going Leeds.
Spurs.
I want to go Leeds. I fancy Leeds all week.
Why do you fancy Leeds?
I think Spurs are a great performance last week, but that was against, with all due respect, Sheffield United.
They were dreadful, wouldn't
They're
they?
somewhere between the Sheffield United performance and the Man City Carabao Cup final, and I think Leeds, Bielsa.
I think Leeds are going to come
100%
raring for a game.
Yeah.
Scotty Minto, it's been an absolute joy chatting to you. Come again, sir. Come again.
Thanks for the invite, mate. Enjoyed it.
Good man.
Cheers, Scotty.
You have been listening, watching to All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral. I'm Tom Davis. We'll see you next time.